Right now, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a team of engineers is building something that could make countries obsolete. I'm not talking about a cruise ship or an oil rig. I'm talking about the world's first floating nation with its own laws, its own government, and its own citizens. It's called Sovereign Ocean State 1, and it's already under construction. But the truth behind this will shock you, because this isn't just about freedom on the water. It's about escaping taxes, rewriting citizenship, and creating a new world order that governments can't control. Let me show you exactly how this happened. For decades, billionaires and tech entrepreneurs have dreamed of escaping government control. They wanted places where they make the rules, where taxes don't exist, where regulations can't touch them. But every piece of land on Earth is already claimed by a country, so they look somewhere else. The ocean. Over 70% of our planet is water, and most of it belongs to no one. This is international waters. No government owns it. No laws apply there except maritime law. And that's where the Seasteading Institute comes in. Founded in 2008 by Patrick Friedman, grandson of economist Milton Friedman, and funded by billionaire Peter Thiel, this organization had one goal: build floating cities in international waters. For years, it was just a crazy idea, but in 2017, everything changed. They announced a real project, a partnership with French Polynesia to build the first seastead. That deal fell apart, but the dream didn't die. It evolved into something bigger. Now here's where things get really interesting. Sovereign Ocean State 1 isn't just a concept anymore. It's a real construction project happening right now off the coast of Panama. The platform is massive. We're talking about a structure the size of a small neighborhood floating in the ocean. It uses semi-submersible technology, the same engineering that keeps oil rigs stable in rough seas. These aren't flimsy houseboats. They're built to withstand hurricanes, tsunamis, and waves over 30 feet tall. The main platform sits on giant columns that go deep underwater. This distributes the weight and keeps everything stable. Each unit can house between 50 to 200 people, depending on the design. And here's the crazy part. The construction cost is reportedly around $300 million. That's less than building a single skyscraper in New York City. For that price, you get an entire independent nation. The units are modular, which means they can disconnect and reconnect like massive Lego blocks. Don't like your neighbors? Literally float away. Want to join a different community? Dock your unit somewhere else. It's freedom of movement taken to a whole new level. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. The legal framework behind SOS-1 is what makes this truly revolutionary. According to international maritime law, if you're in international waters, which starts 12 nautical miles from any coastline, you're essentially in a legal gray zone. SOS-1 is being positioned exactly there, just beyond the reach of any government. Now, you might think this means total chaos. No rules, no laws, just anarchy. But that's not how it works. The project is establishing what they call a special maritime jurisdiction. They're creating their own legal system from scratch. Residents will sign a social contract when they move in. This contract outlines rules, dispute resolution, and governance. It's like a constitution, but you actually get to read it and agree to it before becoming a citizen. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The project is reportedly working with flag state registries. These are countries that allow ships to fly their flags in exchange for fees. Panama, Liberia, and the Marshall Islands do this. By registering as a vessel under a flag state, SOS-1 gains legal recognition as a ship, not a country. This is the loophole. Ships have captains who act as legal authorities. SOS-1's captain is essentially the governor, and since it's a ship in international waters, it exists in a unique legal space where traditional national laws don't automatically apply. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. The real reason billionaires and tech moguls are funding this project isn't just about freedom, it's about taxes. Specifically, avoiding them entirely. If you live on SOS-1 and establish it as your primary residence, you could potentially owe zero income tax, no capital gains tax, no property tax, nothing, because you're not living in any country. You're living in international waters on a registered vessel. Now, different countries have different rules about taxing their citizens abroad. The United States, for example, taxes its citizens no matter where they live, but many other countries only tax residents. If you renounce your citizenship and become a resident of SOS-1, you could escape taxation altogether. This is what critics call Tax Haven 2.0, but supporters say it's about choice. They argue that governments force you to pay taxes without giving you the option to opt out. If you don't like your government, you can move to another country, but every country taxes you. There's no escape. Until now. Beyond taxes, there's another massive implication. Regulation. Tech companies are building AI, cryptocurrencies, and genetic engineering technologies that many governments want to control or ban. On SOS-1, those regulations don't exist. Imagine a floating research facility where scientists can experiment with CRISPR gene editing without government oversight, or a data center processing cryptocurrency transactions with zero regulatory interference. This isn't science fiction. These are stated goals from project backers. So what does all this mean for us today? If SOS-1 succeeds, it changes everything about how we think of nations and citizenship. For centuries, you were born into a country and you lived by its rules. You could move, but you'd just be trading one government for another. This creates an alternative, a place where you choose the rules you live under. For young entrepreneurs, especially in tech and crypto, this is massive. If you're building a startup that governments might shut down, you could operate from SOS-1 instead. For the wealthy, this is the ultimate freedom. Move your assets offshore, literally. For average people, this might seem irrelevant, but consider this. If enough wealthy people and companies move to these floating nations, traditional countries lose tax revenue. That means less funding for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Governments might have to compete for citizens by offering better services and lower taxes, or they might crack down harder on anyone trying to leave. There's also a darker possibility. These floating nations could become havens for illegal activities, money laundering, human trafficking, illegal weapons trading. If there's no government oversight, who stops the criminals? The project claims they'll have strict vetting and internal security, but critics worry that without external accountability, these places could become lawless. And here's something most people don't realize. Climate change might make seasteading necessary, not optional. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. SOS-1 isn't alone anymore. At least 7 other major floating nation projects are in development worldwide. There's Blue Frontiers in the Pacific, Ocean Builders near Panama, and Floating Island Project backed by Chinese investors. Each one has different goals, different legal strategies, and different backers. Some focus on sustainability and climate refugees. Others are openly libertarian tax havens. Together, they represent billions of dollars in investment and thousands of planned residents. The competition between them is fierce, and that competition might be the real game changer. Because when multiple floating nations exist, they'll compete for residents just like countries do. They'll offer better services, lower costs, and more freedom. The best ones will thrive. The poorly run ones will fail and literally sink. This isn't just about one project anymore. It's about a whole new category of human civilization, and it's happening faster than most governments realize. By 2030, experts predict at least 3 fully operational floating nations will exist. The age of seasteading isn't coming. It's already here. If this opened your eyes, you need to hear what comes next. Let's recap what we just uncovered. Engineers are building a floating nation called SOS-1 in international waters that operates outside traditional government control. It uses legal loopholes to create a tax-free zone where regulations don't apply, and at least 7 similar projects are racing to launch their own versions by 2030. This could fundamentally change how citizenship, taxation, and governance work worldwide. If you found this fascinating, hit that subscribe button because next week I'm breaking down the most expensive floating city project backed by Saudi investors that makes SOS-1 look tiny. It's a $20 billion megastructure that could house 50,000 people. You won't want to miss that. And here's my question for you. Would you actually live on a floating nation if you had the chance? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.